Part 37. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 361. Su Yang and Zhang Junping were the only two people in the underground palace. Feeling the killing intent emanating from Su Yang, Zhang Junping was so frightened that he collapsed on the ground and kept moving back. Su Yang approached step by step, his face as heavy as water, and the air around him seemed to have solidified. "No, don't kill me." Zhang Junping was forced into a corner and hurriedly knelt down to beg for mercy. He. Su Yang sneered, "From the moment your Zhang family bullied young Master Wang, you have been sentenced to death, and no one can save you." Zhang Junping was trembling with fear, his eyes were complicated, and in the end he did not beg for mercy, but threatened, "Although I don't know who you are, you have to think clearly. The head of our Zhang family is a member of the Iron Fist sect who advocates immortality. He is a strong man who is half a step into the realm of the divine section. If you kill me, you will definitely be hunted down by your ancestors forever." Zhang Junping gritted his teeth and said, "I advise you to leave now. Maybe my ancestors will open up." Puff. Before Zhang Junping finished speaking, Su Yang used his hand as a knife and suddenly cut off his trachea. In an instant, blood spurted out, looking particularly coquettish under the dim light. "Don't be anxious, come one by one, I'll send you to hell first, and soon it will be your turn to be the ancestor you talk about." Su Yang's eyes were cold. He only glanced at Zhang Junping's body and then withdrew his gaze. Then, Su Yang looked at the ice brick, with a smile on his face, and immediately took action, directly breaking the 1,000-year ice. Buzz. The next moment, the ancient arm soared into the air, as if it had spiritual intelligence, exuding terrifying power, and seemed to crush Su Yang. Su Yang's heart trembled, and he took a step back reflexively, and held out the key to the East Palace. At this moment, Su Yang held the key to the East Palace on his head, and thousands of rays of light fell down, forming a protective barrier that surrounded Su Yang, completely blocking out the pressure released by the ancient arm. The ancient arm paused obviously, and then he was about to escape from the underground palace. Sure enough, spiritual intelligence emerged. "But if you want to leave, have you asked me for my opinion?" Su Yang narrowed his eyes slightly, kneaded the secrets with both hands at the same time, and said in a deep voice, "Key to the East Palace, suppress it." In an instant, the key to the East Mansion emits a dazzling light, its power is heart-stopping, like the mighty power of heaven. The ancient arm calmed down in an instant, and its terrifying power was gone. It floated quietly in front of Su Yang, obviously surrendering to the power of the key to the East Mansion. Su Yang raised his hand and grabbed the ancient arm. Feeling the majestic power in the arm, he couldn't help but sigh, the owner of the arm is really powerful. After being dismembered for countless years, the arm still retains its spiritual energy, and even a trace of spiritual energy was born. I have to say that the earth in ancient times is full of mystery. Su Yang looked at the ancient arm for a few times, then took action, erasing the intelligence in the arm, and then smiled and said, "It's fine now. When young Master Wang takes his arm back, his strength will inevitably grow to a terrifying level." Immediately afterwards, Su Yang put the ancient arm into the storage ring, and then jumped out of the underground palace. This place is indeed empty. Unlike the underground treasure house in the capital of Country D, there is no point in staying any longer. But this trip was quite fruitful. Not only did they rescue Lu Shushan, but they also obtained two treasures. One of them is the ancient arm, which fits Wang Fugui perfectly. As for the other one, it is the jade pendant around Zhang Junping's neck. This thing is made of Tianyan stone. Tianyan stone is a very scarce weapon refining material in Xiantian immortal domain. With Su Yang's method, if he integrated the Tianyan stone into his storage ring, he could completely avoid the consciousness of the nascent soul monks. Now that Su Yang is so close, The reason why it is difficult to use is because powerful opponents can detect his position. But if there is a Tianyan stone, it will be different. The function of the hidden sky stone, coupled with the teleportation so close to the end of the world, is simply as powerful as a tiger, disappearing and killing people with ease. Su Zing was like a student eager for knowledge, looking at Wei Zhong eagerly, waiting for Wei Zhong to answer his questions. As for Wei Zhong, as a eunuch, he was most afraid of others mentioning this matter. His face had darkened a long time ago. In the end, he couldn't bear it any longer and angrily wanted to teach Su Zing a lesson. "Young master, you are finally back. Brother eunuch, does it hurt when you cut it? Is it like what is shown on TV? It can be done with just one knife." "No, this is the third time Manager Wei has come." Xiaoting smiled bitterly and said, "The first 2 times, I told him that he left when you were not at the manor. Unexpectedly, this time, he refused to leave and insisted on seeing you." What a messy question." Su Yang's eyes fell on Zhang Xiao next to him, and he said calmly, "Find a room and settle down Lu Shushan properly. Don't go back to Yaoang Hall yet. If she wakes up, just chat with her." Xiaoting was the only one left at the scene, showing a wry smile. After all, he is immortal brother Xiantian, so he naturally has a strong preference for this type of treasure. Su Yang walked all the way out of the underground palace and saw Su Shanju and Zhang Xiao carrying Lu Shushan outside. They left the scene together. "Are you a eunuch? You must be a eunuch. Brother eunuch, can you share your experience in going to the toilet?" After saying that, Su Yang strode towards the room where Wang Fugui rested. The 2 people talking were none other than Wei Zhong and Su Zeng. It didn't take long. Su Yang and his party returned to Zhangjia Manor. He was quite perseverant and never left. "Tell me, when you pee, do you squat or stand? Can you support it with your hands?" "Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. You eunuchs have all been cut, and you can't help me even if you want to. Su Shanju, come with me. I'm going to reattach young Master Wang's arm. You stay outside and don't allow anyone to come in without my permission. Even if you encounter someone who cannot be killed, you can hide your whereabouts and escape, which greatly improves your chance of survival." As soon as he entered the door, Xiaoting came forward anxiously and said with a wry smile, "Go to the front hall and have a look." Zhang Xiao also carried Lu Shushan on her back and went deep into the manor to find a free room. "Brother eunuch, please satisfy my curiosity. Do you usually go to the men's room or the women's room? Tell him I don't have time." Su Yang frowned and said, "What's wrong?" At this time, there was a conversation not far away. Su Shanju followed closely behind, not daring to neglect at all. "Whose child is this? Go, go, go away." Zhang Xiao responded respectfully. "Yes. The Aoki chief is waiting for you in the front hall." "Gangan, I'm so annoying. Whose kid are you from? If you keep talking too much, I'm going to teach you a lesson." At this moment. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 362. Don't. At this time, Xiaoting hurriedly stepped forward and said with an apologetic smile, "Manager Wei, I'm sorry, this is the son of my eldest young master, Su Zeng. He has lacked discipline since he was a child. If he offends me in any way, please let him know." "Su Yang's son? That's right. No wonder he was so rude. Sure enough, dragons and dragons gave birth to phoenixes, and the mouse's son knew how to dig holes." Snort. Su Yang didn't follow the etiquette, stayed behind closed doors, and his son spoke freely, which was really normal. Although he thought so in his heart, on the surface, Wei Zhong complimented, "It turns out that he is the son of young Master Su. No wonder he has extraordinary bearing. He has the appearance of a prince at a young age, and his future achievements will be limitless." Mr. Wei is overly praised. Xiaoting smiled, turned to look at Suzing, and whispered, Master, stop making trouble, okay. Go and play with your little wife. The little wife in Xiaoting's mouth is naturally the little loli who ate candied haws before. Unexpectedly, Suzing curled his lips and said, I won't go. What's wrong? Suzing said calmly, I had a quarrel with her. Aren't you guys having a good time? Why did you suddenly have a quarrel? Xiaoting asked in confusion. It's not because she is petty. I just sent a text message to my Baiji wife, and she got jealous and insisted that I explain it to her. Suzing said confidently, what's the explanation for this? Isn't it normal for a man to have 3 wives and 4 concubines, hugging each other? This is a virtue that has been passed down in our country for thousands of years. I can't explain it. A 4-year-old kid has turned into a scumbag. Is this serious? Puff. Xiaoting couldn't help laughing. Why are you laughing? Suzing said dissatisfied. Ahem. Xiaoting suppressed his laughter, coughed twice, and then said, Master, I think women need to be coaxed. You can't be so stubborn. Go coax her. Just coax her. Fart. Young master, I am handsome and charming. You want me to be a bitch to please her? Suzing vowed firmly and gritted his teeth and said, Young master, I will be single for the rest of my life. Even if I die immediately, I will never be a licker. Big guy, I guess you've never been in love before. Let me tell you, you can't be spoiled by women. You want me to be subdued? Haha, go ahead and dream. This. It seems to make sense. Xiaoting touched the bridge of his nose, but for a moment he couldn't find a reason to refute. But at this moment, Mo Yuyan walked by from a distance holding a Barbie doll. At this moment, Mo Yuyan was wearing a cute pink skirt with many small braids and a pair of fake butterfly wings on her back, just like a little fairy from Beiwa Valley. Humph, you bastard, I won't play with you anymore. From a distance, Mo Yuyan glanced at Suzing, snorted coldly to express her dissatisfaction, and then walked over angrily. Fuck. It's so beautiful. Who can withstand this? Suzing's eyes instantly straightened, and he stared blankly at Mo Yuyan disappearing from his sight. After reacting, Suzing ran and said, Little wife, I was wrong. Please listen to my explanation. Everything is my fault. Just wait for me. Suzing seemed to have forgotten what he had just said, and with a flattering smile on his face, he chased after Mo Yuyan. Well. At the scene, Xiaoting and Wei Zhong looked confused. Asking what love is in this world will teach you how to make love between life and death. Wei Zhong had such taboos that he said happily, it's terrible to have to suffer the pain of love at such a young age. Fortunately, I cut off the relationship when I was young. Xiaoting. At this moment, Zhangjia Manor, in a secluded room. Wang Fugui is lying on the hospital bed. He is still awake because he was too seriously injured. Receiving this arm will be beneficial to you, so I won't ask for your opinion. Su Yang showed a smile, and then took out the ancient arm from the storage ring. Buzz. Immediately afterwards, he kneaded the secret technique with both hands, concentrated on it, and began to use secret techniques to connect his arms to Wang Fugui's body. As for Su Shanju, he was guarding outside and no one could disturb Su Yang. At the same time, the emperor and the civil and military officials were all waiting for Su Yang to arrive, but Su Yang was delayed. Okay, go ahead, Long Suxing urged with a wave of his hand. Long Suxing responded respectfully, then turned around and exited the Jinluan Hall. Su Yang, on the other hand, integrated the Tianyan stone into the storage ring within these 2 hours. I'm warning you, no one is allowed to harm Su Yang before the matter is clarified, Long Xingtian said coldly. Su Yang is senior sister's little boy. If something happens to Su Yang, who knows what excessive behavior senior sister will do. Yes, Your Highness, I promise to complete the mission. Gongning, a middle-aged man, accepted the order respectfully. Prince Ping Long Su Xin couldn't bear it anymore and stood up and said, Your Majesty, it seems that General Manager Wei can't invite Su Yang. How about this? My brother sends one of his men to Zhangjia Manor. I am absolutely sure that I can invite Su Yang Jinluan Hall. According to the order. As long as Su Yang makes a thought, his aura will be completely covered by the storage ring. In the ancient martial arts system, Su Yang was sure that as long as he concealed his aura, no ancient warrior could discover him. Long Xingtian paused for a moment and said doubtfully, Prince Ping, why are you so sure? Do you want to use force? Watching his men leave, Long Suxing raised a playful smile on his lips. In the cultivation system, only those who are at nascent soul level and above can discern his aura. Oh! He. Nowadays, although the internal space of the storage ring has not been expanded, it has a new function. Long Suxing nodded lightly, whispered in the middle-aged man's ear, and then said, Gongning, remember, you must act arrogantly. It is best to completely anger Su Yang, and tell him that I wait for him at the Jinluan Hall. 2 hours later. Long Xingtian nodded and said, in that case, Prince Ping, then you can send someone there. Remember, don't conflict with Su Yang and don't hurt him at all. Su Yang, aren't you young and frivolous? Haha, I'm looking forward to you making a big fuss in the Golden Palace. Su Yang has already connected his arm to Wang Fugui's body, and the integration is very good. There is also the Emperor. The irrefutable evidence needs to be investigated clearly. I want to see if Su Yang will tolerate Su Yang's misbehavior in your Jinluan Hall. Gongning agreed, and his figure quickly disappeared. Yes. Your Majesty, you are too worried. My brother will naturally not suppress Su Yang forcibly, otherwise there is no need to file a lawsuit against him. Jinluan Hall. Finally. Long Suxing smiled softly and said, Your Majesty, please rest assured, my brother's method will definitely work. Zhang Family Manor, inside the room. A middle-aged man waiting outside immediately came up to him, knelt on one knee and said, Your Highness. Wang Fugui's injuries have almost recovered under Su Yang's treatment, and he will wake up at any time. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 363. This function seems a bit useless, but it is actually very useful. Not only can it kill opponents by surprise, but it can also be used as a trump card to escape. Besides, Su Yang also absorbed a large amount of energy stones. Although he had not established a foundation, he was already at the peak of the 9th level of Qi training, and was only one step away from establishing a foundation. If I find a suitable opportunity, it's time for me to build the foundation. Su Yang ended his meditation state with a smile on his lips. At present, he has no shortage of cultivation resources. Whether it is energy stones or medicinal materials containing spiritual energy, there are a lot of them in the storage ring. However, Su Yang was wary of arrogance and impetuosity when he started practicing again, and was prepared to work steadily. Such a foundation will be very solid, and you will not be disturbed by inner demons when you break through to a greater realm in the future. Especially in the face of thunder tribulation, cultivators with a solid foundation have an extremely obvious advantage. If the foundation is floating, it is very likely that the tribulation will fail, and there is even the possibility of falling into the realm. Slow down a little longer, I have a feeling that once I succeed in building the foundation, there will be no one in the ancient martial arts world worthy of being my opponent. Su Yang smiled softly, his expression full of confidence, and murmured, "At that time, I will set foot on the place of Zen to welcome my mother back. We also want to go to the top of Kunlun and destroy the Ximen family that dominates the magpie's nest. In a word, if there is a grudge, take revenge, and if there is a grudge, retaliate. Soon. He is getting closer and closer to being invincible in the ancient martial arts world. Grass. Grass. Hold the grass." At this moment, Wang Fuegui woke up, sat up and said 3 sentences of Chinese quintessence. Su Yang withdrew his attention, his eyes fell on Wang Fuegui, and he smiled softly, "Young Master Wang, what are you doing?" "Young Master Su, my brother, I knew you would come to save me." Wang Fuegui reacted, got out of bed and hugged Su Yang excitedly. He put his head on Su Yang's chest, and his eyes filled with tears, "Young Master Su, it was you who saved me. From now on, my life will belong to you, that's it, you can do whatever you want to me, I will never resist." "Piss off." With a dark face, Su Yang pushed Wang Fuegui away and said with disgust, "Stay away from me. How many times have I told you, I'm not interested in chrysanthemums. Young Master Su, you are so heartless and cruel, Wang Fuegui said aggrievedly. "Fuck you, uncle, can you just close your anus? Don't blame me for being rude if you continue to be pretentious." Su Yang glanced at Wang Fuegui. "Ha ha ha. Just kidding, Mr. Su, I'm not interested in your enoki mushrooms either." Wang Fuegui smiled heartily, and then suddenly thought of something, he raised his right hand, and his face suddenly turned ugly. "Didn't my right hand be cut off? What the hell is going on? Young Master Wang, you are lucky. I accidentally obtained an ancient arm containing spiritual energy." Su Yang smiled softly and said, "You happened to lose an arm, so I reattached it to your body. This arm is not simple. It contains invincible sword power. In the next period of time, your strength will definitely improve by leaps and bounds. You must be mentally prepared." Su Yang patted Wang Fuegui on the shoulder, and then said, "Young Master Wang, why are you standing there in such a daze? Why don't you thank me?" "Thank you, uncle." Wang Fuegui was about to cry but had no tears. He stretched out his arms and said with a sad face, "Young Master Su, take a closer look. Are my hands different from others? What's the difference?" As he spoke, Su Yang moved his eyes to look over, and was suddenly stunned. "Oh shit! It's really different from others." Wang Fuegui lost his right arm, and the ancient arm was his left arm. In other words, Wang Fuegui now has 2 identical arms, both left arms. When you hold it up, it looks like half the title of a book. It looks very funny. Half of the book title, annotation. Ah! Wang Fuegui raised his 2 left arms, looked up to the sky and sighed, "When I was studying, I saw 2 trees in front of my house. One was a jujube tree and the other was also a jujube tree. I didn't take it seriously and even suspected that the great writer was there. The word water is full of contempt for him. But now, when it comes to me, I can deeply understand the deep emotions in that great writer's heart." Wang Fuegui was about to cry but had no tears, and said sadly, "I have 2 arms, one is the left arm, and the other is also the left arm. I am in so much pain. Ahem. This is my negligence. I just connected your arm and didn't think much about it at the time." Su Yang touched the bridge of his nose and said comfortingly, "Young Master Wang, don't worry about these details. You have to know that this is an ancient arm of yours, and your success in the future will depend entirely on it. But this is too awkward and uncoordinated. I will be laughed at," Wang Fuegui said, wanting to cry. "This is nothing, it's just a minor problem. Mr. Wang, think about the helpless feeling you felt when Lu Shushan was in danger. It's uncomfortable." Su Yang enlightened, "It will be different later. You will become stronger quickly and be able to better protect the people you want to protect. This is a man's responsibility. What the hell? It seems to make sense. When Wang Fuegui heard these words, his mentality suddenly changed, his eyes fell on his two left arms, and he smiled softly. Young Master Su, after hearing what you said, I suddenly felt that this was quite pleasing to the eye. It's just that I have one more question. Su Yang asked doubtfully, what's the problem? Wang Fuegui looked at Su Yang, shook both arms at the same time, and asked seriously, will this affect my playing Suana? Su Yang had a black streak in his head. When he realized what he was doing, he kicked Wang Fuegui directly and muttered, you are bragging, sir. You have taily sword body, a physique that is rare in 10,000 years. Are you bragging about Suana? You are stupid. But I really like playing Suana. Wang Fuegui said innocently and stubbornly. My darn thing. Su Yang was too lazy to talk to Wang Fuegui anymore, so he said, go away, this is the Zhang family manor, and it belongs to me now. Lu Shushan is in the second to last room on the east side. Go find her. Don't let me see you again, otherwise I'm afraid I won't be able to help but punch you a few times. After leaving some words, Su Yang walked out of the room and ignored Wang Fuegui. This guy is so mean. Chatting with him will easily make you angry. Young master. When he came to the courtyard, Su Yang saw Xiaoting, and there were two people next to Xiaoting. One is Wei Zhong, the chief internal officer, and the other is Gongning, a middle-aged man sent by Prince Ping. Young Master Su, I've finally waited for you. Wei Zhong was quite polite and greeted with a smile. But Gongning was different, with a faint smile on his face, and said playfully, Su Yang, do you know where your sister Su Jingguo is at the moment? Originally, Su Yang had no intention of communicating with these two people. He would not go to any bullshit face-to-face meeting. But when the man in front of him mentioned his sister, Su Yang's expression suddenly changed and he asked in a cold voice, speak clearly to me. Ha ha ha, Su Yang, to tell you the truth, your sister Su Jingguo has violated military orders and has been imprisoned in Prince Ping's mansion. She will be beaten with 200 military sticks every day. Gongning said with a sigh, tisk, tisk, although Su Jingguo is the god of war, she is still a girl, with thin skin and tender flesh. After several days in a row, she is already dying. What? When Su Yang heard this, his face suddenly turned ugly, and his eyes were filled with a sharp light that was breathtaking. At this moment, he released his breath without reservation and swept the whole place. The gravel in the courtyard trembled slightly. The air around him was so cold that it seemed to freeze. Su Yang walked towards Gongning step by step, his face as dark as water, and asked, tell me, what military order did my sister violate, and who ordered her to be imprisoned? Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 364. Feeling the aura emanating from Su Yang's body, Gongning's face suddenly changed, and his expression was filled with fear. Su Jingguo disobeyed the general's orders. During the battle in southern Xinjiang a few days ago, Prince Ping ordered to retreat and abandon southern Xinjiang. Su Jingguo was in Kyoto at the time. After learning about this, she wanted to lead troops to support southern Xinjiang. Gongning kept in mind what Long Suxing told him to be arrogant, and he must become arrogant to anger Su Yang. He was a close aide of Prince Ping and had already revealed his identity. Even if Su Yang had 100 courages, he would not dare to kill him. Thinking of this, Gongning felt a little more confident, straightened up, met Su Yang's gaze, and then said, Su Jingguo disobeyed Prince Ping's order and is now imprisoned in Prince Ping's mansion. The person who imprisoned her is naturally Prince Ping. He. Southern Xinjiang. It's actually because of the battle in southern Xinjiang. Su Yang was furious and said coldly, Prince Ping ordered the retreat and ignored the tens of thousands of people in southern Xinjiang. My sister ignored her personal safety and intended to support southern Xinjiang. What's wrong? On the contrary, it was Prince Ping who made indiscriminate decisions, made wrong judgments, and imprisoned loyal ministers. Su Yang's eyes were cold, with overwhelming murderous intent on his face. Prince Ping, I will settle this account with you today. Su Yang. Gong Ning felt happy when he saw Su Yang was angry, and then said, Prince Ping is in the Jinluan Hall now. If you want to settle accounts, go to the Jinluan Hall. After leaving a word, Gong Ning turned around and left. At this time, Su Yang stared at Gong Ning and raised his eyebrows in an indifferent tone. Where are you going? Of course I'll go back. Gong Ning stopped, aware of Su Yang's murderous intention towards him, and his body couldn't help but tremble. Ha, Su Yang said coldly, you can't go back. What do you mean, Su Yang, you want to kill me? Gong Ning's heart tightened, but he pretended to be calm. I'm warning you, Su Yang, I am a close aide of Prince Ping. I came here this time on Prince Ping's order to tell you about Su Jingguo and ask you to go. We are discussing a solution in the Jinluan Hall. If you dare to kill me, you will definitely anger Prince Ping. By then, ugh. Before Gong Ning finished speaking, Su Yang waved his hand, and there was a majestic spiritual energy that shattered his heart. You will pay the price for your actions. Gong Ning's body fell straight down, with unwillingness and surprise in his eyes. He never thought until his death that Su Yang really dared to kill him in public. Gong Ning knew that Prince Ping asked him to mention Su Jingguo in front of Su Yang, and deliberately fabricated the lie that Su Jingguo was whipped, just to anger Su Yang. As long as Su Yang loses his mind in anger, he will go to Jinluan Hall to settle accounts with Prince Ping. At that time, Su Yang's riot in the Jinluan Palace was tantamount to provoking the majesty of the royal family, and no one could protect him. And Gong Ning concluded that nothing would happen to him. Who would dare to blatantly kill the confidants of the number one king in the world? Now, Gong Ning knows that he made a mistake, but unfortunately there is no chance to do it again. He. I want to kill Prince Ping, let alone you, Su Yang sneered again and again. Young master, what should we do now? All the blood slaughterers are at your disposal. At this time, Xiao Ting gritted his teeth and said. He was standing aside just now, so naturally he heard clearly that the eldest lady Su Jingguo was imprisoned by Prince Ping and had to endure severe beatings every day. This made Xiao Ting furious, but after calming down, Xiao Ting said, Young master, Prince Ping deliberately sent this subordinate to anger you. His purpose must be to make you go to the Jinluan Hall to cause a scene. The Jinluan Palace is an important place for the royal family and is sacred and majestic. If you do anything excessive in the Jinluan Palace, you will definitely anger the emperor, and you will become the enemy of the entire royal family. Xiao Ting suggested, in my opinion, young master, we need to make a decision before we act. We cannot fall into Prince Ping's trap. I have never heard about the harrowing god of war. I don't know whether it is true or not. Young master Su, we can go to the Jinluan Palace first. Su Yang's face was as dark as water, and he sneered, so what if I follow his plan? When we get to the Jinluan Hall, who can do anything to me? Master, I need to rest for a while and study how to transform into a human form, but if there is danger, you can call me at any time. At this moment, the 49 members of the Blood Massacre have gathered together, and the momentum is overwhelming. Certainly. At this moment, Shifen is in the storage ring, receiving the baptism of the foundation building spiritual energy. So. At this time, Wei Zhong reacted and hurriedly stopped him. You have already caused big trouble. Don't cause trouble again, otherwise the emperor will not be able to protect you. Although she has not yet awakened, as long as there is a need or a thought, Shifen in the foundation building stage will come out of the storage ring and sweep around. At this time, Su Yang ordered in a cold voice, Xiao Ting, gather the members of the blood slaughterer, flatten Long Su Xing's palace for me, and rescue the eldest lady. But the power in Su Yang's body was really terrifying, so he had no choice but to leave the Zhang family manor in a hurry with a few young eunuchs. This is not the most important thing, the main thing is that he noticed that Shifen has successfully established the foundation. As you command. Tear down the palace and rescue the eldest lady. Young Master Su is going to lead the bloody massacre to attack Prince Ping's mansion. This matter is too big and must be reported to the Emperor as soon as possible. Prince Ping wants to be killed, but before that, I must rescue my sister. That's not necessary. Wei Zhong suggested, don't be angry when you get to the place. Let everyone understand it calmly and clearly. All civil and military officials are also present to see what is going on. The final decision will be made by the Emperor. How about that? For the sake of your good attitude, I will spare your life. If you dare to talk too much, don't blame me for being rude. Su Yang reached the peak of the 9th level of Qi training and used all his methods to kill the half-step divine sect. Nowadays. You mean, I want to watch my sister suffer and remain indifferent? Su Yang raised his eyebrows. Tear down the palace and rescue the eldest lady. Su Yang has no fear of the royal family. Even if the royal family has masters comparable to Duan Mulu, they can only become Shifen's nourishment. Xiaoting clasped his fists respectfully, and he resolutely implemented Su Yang's decision. Let alone the ancient warriors who have just joined the Shen Zone, looking at the entire ancient martial arts world, there is probably no one who can be Shifen's opponent. This was a sentence Shifen passed to Su Yang not long ago, which gave Su Yang the confidence to challenge the royal family. Tear down the palace and rescue the eldest lady. This. Young Master Su, you absolutely must not do this. It doesn't matter. When he heard Su Yang's order to expel guests, Wei Zhong suddenly turned ugly and wanted to try to persuade him again. Su Yang stared at Wei Zhong and said in a deep voice, please come back. Suitu obeys the order, goes to the palace, and rescues the eldest lady. This manor is too small and shabby. I can't stand it anymore. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 365. Palace Master, do you need help from the Medicine King Palace? At this time, Zhang Xiao came over after hearing the news and asked respectfully. Need not. Su Yang shook his head, and then asked, how is Lu Shushan? She's awake. It's not a big problem. A strange young man came into the room to accompany her just now. Zhang Xiao responded truthfully. Su Yang frowned and said, weird young man? Why is he so strange? He actually has two identical arms. Isn't that strange enough? Zhang Xiao said while looking at Su Yang. This is indeed quite strange. Su Yang did not continue this topic, but said, Zhang Xiao, you stay here to guard the manor. The Su family's affairs should be resolved by the Su family. At first, when Su Yang and Su Shanju went to Yaoang Palace, they disguised themselves as Su Xiantian. However, when he returned to Zhangjia Manor, Su Yang had already returned to his original appearance. Therefore, Zhang Xiao knew that Su Xiantian was Su Yang, the eldest young master of the Su family. Yes. Facing Su Yang's arrangement, Zhang Xiao accepted the order respectfully. Next, Su Yang led all the members of the Blood Massacre to leave the Zhang family manor and went straight to Prince Ping's mansion. As for Su Shanju, Su Yang also asked him to stay. After all, Su Xing, Wang Fugui, and Lu Shushan were all in the Zhang family manor, and there were two top Tianzone people in charge, so Su Yang felt more at ease. About 20 minutes later, Wei Zhong led several young eunuchs back to the Jinluan Hall, and told Su Yang's actions in front of all the civil and military officials. It's unreasonable. He dares to kill the cronies sent by Prince Ping. This person is too arrogant. Does he still have royal laws in his eyes? There is still a royal family. It is simply lawless. Your Majesty, this son is murderous and ruthless. He must be sentenced to death to serve as a warning to others. Many of Prince Ping's party members stood up and condemned Su Yang's evil deeds. As for the civil servants headed by Lu Zhonglian, they said nothing, but their faces were obviously not good-looking either. At this moment, Prince Ping Longsuxing raised an imperceptible smile at the corner of his mouth. Su Yang killed Gongning, which showed that Su Yang was very angry. It seemed that his plan was successful. When Su Yang heard the news about Su Jingguo, he really got mad and lost his mind. As long as Su Yang steps into the Jinluan Hall and acts arrogantly in the Jinluan Hall, the emperor will definitely kill him. There are many masters in the royal family. Even the monks guarding the palace city were powerful half-step divine sects. If the emperor wants to kill Su Yang, he will definitely die. No one can stop him. Although he was happy in his heart, on the surface, Longsuxing said with great sadness, "Your Majesty, Gongning has been accompanying my brother for many years, but I didn't expect that he died tragically at the hands of Su Yang. Please make the decision for my brother." Prince Ping. Long Xingtian was also slightly angry in his heart, and said calmly, "Don't be too sad, this Su Yang is indeed too much. Wei Zhong, where has Su Yang gone now? It stands to reason that he should come to Jinluan Hall this time." Long Xingtian said calmly, "After all, the person who imprisoned his sister is Prince Ping. Prince Ping is in Jinluan Palace at this time. With his character, he will come to Jinluan Palace to ask for an explanation, right?" "No," young Master Su said, "not to rush to seek revenge from Prince Ping," Wei Zhong said truthfully. Snort. Long Xingtian breathed a sigh of relief, and then said, "He still has a sense of proportion. He knows that the Jinluan Palace is an important place for the royal family. Anyone who uses force in the Jinluan Palace will. Royal Lord." At this time, Wei Zhong smiled bitterly and said, "Young Master Su means to save Su Jingguo first, and then kill Prince Ping. When I returned to the palace, young Master Su had already summoned a bloody massacre to attack Prince Ping's palace. He planned to crush the palace and rescue Su Jingguo." Buzz. As soon as these words came out, there was an uproar at the scene, and everyone had a look of astonishment in their eyes. "Flatten the palace. That's Prince Ping's mansion, the #1 king in the world today. Su Yang actually dared to lead people to attack Prince Ping's mansion. It was unbelievable. This was too shocking." "What?" Because Long Xingtian had long noticed that Prince Ping had a disobedient heart. Duan Mulu came out of the mountain again, led hundreds of thousands of lions, swallowed thousands of miles, and went straight to the border of southern Xinjiang. Prince Ping and Long Xingtian have the same father and half-mother. As for Long Xingtian, as the emperor, he naturally had some background behind him. He was a monk and a Taoist. She is an old monster who is infinitely close to Shenzong, and now lives in Prince Ping's mansion. Prince Ping below looked ugly, but he did not panic at all. Instead, he said with a serious face, "This is Su Yang's own death. If the master guarding the palace kills Su Yang, I don't blame my brother." The reason why he did not expose Prince Ping, but instead showed great respect for Prince Ping, was because of the background of Prince Ping's palace. Long Xingtian had long had the idea of pulling out Prince Ping, but unfortunately, he was afraid of Gu Hongyu, so he didn't do it, and the stalemate lasted for so many years. Long Xingtian was grateful to Su Yang in his heart. Regardless of senior sister Xiao, he was unwilling to punish Su Yang. "Royal Lord." When Long Xingtian heard these words, he frowned slightly and remained silent for a while. Therefore, Long Xingtian's status in the master's sect is not high. He has many masters and disciples, but he is the one who is least favored and has the least talent. Naturally, there was no reason to return the resources collected by the sect, so a few decades later, Long Xingtian was recruited into the sect. Those so-called masters are not worth mentioning. The key is Prince Ping's maternal grandmother, Gu Hongyu. As early as many years ago, a monk fought against Gu Hongyu, the grandmother of Prince Ping, at the same time. They were evenly matched and no one got any advantage. He knows the details of Prince Ping's mansion better than anyone else. Certainly. Long Xingtian was shocked. He gritted his teeth and said, "How dare this guy get the courage to break into Prince Ping's palace? Long Xingtian's sect is huge, and if he uses his sect's power, he can naturally take down Gu Hongyu." But he never expected that this crisis would be resolved by Su Yang. All this is just a transaction. Some days ago. His mother is the daughter of the head of that sect. The strength of these two people is at the level of the half-step divine sect. The master agreed, but before the master could take action, Duan Mulu was frightened by Su Wazi's power and chose to surrender. Long Xingtian sensed the crisis and made plans to contact his master. Original. Before leaving, the master expressed his willingness to help him once, which was already a great kindness, and Long Xingtian did not complain at all. There is only one opportunity to use the power of the master, which is very rare. Over the years, this sect has continuously sent experts to settle in the palace and become Prince Ping's personal followers in an attempt to shake the throne of the emperor. Therefore, unless the city is destroyed and the country is destroyed, Long Xingtian will never contact the master. Back then, Duan Mulu, who was in the Shenzong realm, was invincible on the battlefield, so the old emperor spent a lot of resources from the treasury and asked Long Xingtian's disciples to take action to punish Duan Mulu. Therefore, the mother of Prince Ping Long Suxing came from a powerful ancient martial arts sect. But before leaving the master's door, the master once told Long Xingtian that he would only help him once. After that time, the friendship between master and disciple was severed, which was considered as repayment of the old friendship. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 366. In the final analysis, the reason why Long Xingtian did not use the power of his sect to punish Prince Ping was because he did not want to waste the precious opportunities that his ancestors had bought with a lot of real money because of the internal fighting in the royal family. As for senior sister Xiao, Long Xingtian has no idea of senior sister's true strength. Over the years, although Xiao is nominally a national sword instructor, he needs to be controlled by the emperor. But God Long Xing dares to issue orders to Xiao. Senior sister has always had her own way of doing whatever she wants. In this way, Prince Ping, who harbors evil intentions, exists to this day. Now, Long Xingtian came back to his senses, his eyes fell on Prince Ping, and still wanted to defend Su Yang, so he said, "Prince Ping, if Su Yang breaks into your mansion, just send someone to capture him and hand him over to me, I will punish him." "I'm afraid that won't work." "Could it be that?" Long Suxian said, "Your Majesty, you know that my grandmother has a bad temper. If she sees someone committing murder in the palace, she will be furious. My brother will not be able to persuade her." Hearing this, Long Xingtian said slightly angrily, "In this case, I will ask Tuaba Bodhisattva and Kuzo Taoist to go to the palace to help you capture Su Yang, so as to prevent your grandmother from taking action. How about that?" "Thank you, Your Majesty, for your kindness." A flash of anger flashed in Prince Ping's eyes, but he said on the surface, "It's just that my brother's grandmother is old, and her mind has been sometimes sober and sometimes confused in the past 2 years. If she can't recognize the two masters, she will be accidentally injured in the fight. I hope the emperor will forgive me." The threat in these words could not be more obvious. If the emperor really sends a monk to go to the palace, it will be equivalent to breaking with the palace. By then, the world will be in chaos. Long Xingtian was furious in his heart, but he didn't show it. He thought seriously for a few seconds, and finally gave up on Su Yang, feeling that there was no need to shake the foundation of the royal family just because of Su Yang. When fish and clams fight, the fisherman gains. Many families in Kyoto are not fuel efficient. At present, it is not a wise choice to break up with Prince Heping. Therefore, Long Xintian said calmly, "Forget it, Prince Ping, in that case, you can solve it yourself." "Thank you, Your Majesty." "Please rest assured, my lord, anyone who provokes the majesty of the royal family will definitely die." Long Suxing showed a smile, and then said, "Emperor, since all the civil and military officials are here, why don't we take a look at the palace through the eyes of the sky?" "That's right." Long Xintian nodded. He knew very well that Su Yang would never survive. The reason why he agreed was to see how many masters there were in the palace and what the current state of Guhangyu was. Following the emperor's order, a few minutes later, a huge LCD screen appeared above the Jinluan Hall. Everyone's eyes fell on the screen, their eyes full of curiosity. As for Prince Ping, he dialed a number and whispered something into the phone. About 3 minutes later, Su Yang led the blood slaughter members to the outside of the magnificent palace. "Kill!" Suddenly, the Vermilion Gate opened, and dozens of masters of the Earth Sect realm poured out of the palace. Every strength of these people is in the Earth Sect realm. In addition, there are 2 old men in the late Tianzone realm, following behind. Without exception, these people's eyes were full of murderous intent, and they were obviously well prepared. He. I didn't expect that there would be so many masters in the palace." Su Yang narrowed his eyes slightly and said in a cold tone, "Xuetu obeys the order and kills no one." "Yes." Including Xiaoting, 50 members of the Blood Massacre responded in unison. Immediately afterwards, a fierce battle broke out on the scene. The 49 members of the Blood Massacre, after experiencing the baptism of the Southern Xinjiang War, are all comparable to the peak of the Earth Sect, and can even kill the peak of the Earth Sect. As for the masters coming out of the palace, they were all late-stage and peak-level Earth sections. They were more numerous than Xuetu, so they were in a stalemate. As the captain of the Blood Massacre, Xiaoting's strength was comparable to that of the late Tianzone, but at this moment, he was entangled by 2 late Tianzone, and it was difficult to decide the winner for a while. As for Su Yang, he stood aside and watched the battle outside the palace gate from a distance, with no intention of intervening. Only by fighting can the members of the blood slaughter grow, so Su Yang didn't interfere. "Xiaoting, it will be beneficial to you to practice with a strong person of this level first, and then use the Fulong combination attack technique at the critical moment." After leaving some words, Su Yang walked into the palace alone, relaxed his mind and sensed the position of his elder sister. Soon Su Yang noticed that the elder sister was at 11 o'clock. There was a row of antique buildings over there, and the elder sister's breath came from under the building. Then, Su Yang strode over and entered the antique building directly. At this time, his figure completely disappeared from the sky eye, and the sky eye then moved outside the palace and continued to broadcast the battle outside the palace. Now, Jinluan Hall. All the civil and military officials looked at each other. Only now did they know the power of the palace. Prince Ping's soldiers are so strong, they can actually compete with the Blood Tuesday. Yes, you must know that these members of the Blood Massacre once killed everyone on the battlefield in southern Xinjiang. It's scary. Where did Prince Ping recruit so many soldiers from the Earth Sect realm? 70 or 80 soldiers from the Earth Sect and 2 soldiers from the Tian section. Prince Ping is keeping a low profile. This power is comparable to that of the royal family, right? It is said that Prince Ping's maternal grandmother is a half-step divine sect and can compete with a monk from the royal family. So, Prince Ping's power is not weaker than that of the royal family. For a time, all the civil and military officials present were whispering to each other and discussing in low voices. Lu Zhonglian, the head of the civil service, looked at Prince Ping angrily after seeing his powerful power, but finally chose to remain silent. He was scared. Prince Ping naturally noticed this and raised a playful smile on his lips. Today, the reason why he demonstrated his strength was to shock the civil and military officials and see their reactions. Because Prince Ping's plan can be implemented immediately. Over the years, he has had a close relationship with the leader of the Iron Fist sect and has long formed an alliance. It was Prince Ping's idea that the leader of the Iron Fist sect united with the Du family in Shenzhen to squeeze the Yaoang Palace. In fact, Gu Hongyu, the richest man in the palace, has gone to Jiangbei Yun Villa with the leader of the Iron Fist sect. The three half-step divine sects, this squeeze plan will definitely succeed. Once the Medicine King Palace compromises, the palace will be allocated a large amount of resources and will receive help from the Iron Fist sect and the Shenzhen Du family. When the time comes, Prince Ping will directly blockade Kyoto, and the position of Lord of the World will be his. Just now, Long Suxing kept saying that his grandmother was in the palace. It was just a bluff, but it also calmed the emperor. Of course, even if grandma is not around, Long Suxing is still confident of dealing with the blood slaughter members. In his palace, there are not only 2 late Tianzong disciples, but 3. The underground secret prison where Su Jingguo was imprisoned was also guarded by a later Tianzong. Just now, through the eyes of the sky, Long Suxing saw Su Yang walking towards the underground prison. At this time, he couldn't help but sneered. Su Yang, you are just a super playboy, how dare you break into my underground prison, haha, without Xiaoting and the Blood 2 members by your side, let's see who can save you. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 367. Since Su Yang's figure disappeared, the eyes of the sky locked on the battle outside the palace. At this moment, Xiaoting and the 49 members of the Blood Massacre were fighting in a bloody battle. The soldiers in Prince Ping's mansion were not ordinary people, especially the 2 late Tianzong soldiers who suppressed Xiaoting to death. After a few minutes of fighting, the members of the Blood Massacre were more or less injured, while only 4 or 5 of Prince Ping's soldiers died. Fortunately, the members of the Blood Slaughter practiced Qingming's physical training skills. After bathing in the blood, their injuries recovered little by little, and they were able to tangle with the soldiers of the Earth Sect realm. Xiaoting fought 1 against 2, which was a little difficult, but it was not a big problem to contain the 2 late Tianzongs. But this is only temporary. The members of the Blood Slaughter still have a trump card that they have not used yet, which is the Fulong combination attack technique. As long as the secret technique of joint attack is used, Xiaoting and the 49 Blood Slaughter members are equivalent to a whole body. They can kill the peak of Tianzong in an instant and completely change the situation of the battle. But before Su Yang left, he told them to fight on their own and practice first before using the Fulong combination technique. All members of the Blood Massacre followed Su Yang's orders and launched a fierce battle with Prince Ping's soldiers. Snort. Since you can't be used by me, let's take this opportunity to eradicate you, so as not to affect my future plans. Prince Ping stared at the projection screen above the Jinluan Palace and said with cold eyes. From the current point of view, his own soldiers still have the advantage, not to mention that there is also a master of the late Tianzong in the palace. When the Tianzong in the later stage has solved Su Yang, he will come to help. When the time comes, kill Xiaoting first, and then defeat them one by one, completely wiping out the 49 members of the Blood Slaughter. Why? Seeing this, Lu Zhonglian, the head of the civil service, sighed, feeling particularly helpless. Prince Ping's ambition has been revealed, but who can stop him? As for Long Xintian, his face was solemn, and he naturally guessed that Prince Ping might have another agenda for exposing his soldiers this time. Do we really want to use up the opportunity to ask our master for help? Long Xintian sat upright, looking neither happy nor sad, but in his heart was murderous intent. If Prince Ping really dared to plot for his throne, he would have no choice but to use the power of his division to put down the rebellion. At this time, Prince Ping's mansion. Su Yang entered the antique building and found the entrance to the underground prison based on his perception. Who? Prince Ping's soldiers did not all rush out to deal with Shui Tuesday at this time. 7 or 8 guards from the Earth Sect realm rushed out. After seeing Su Yang, these people looked at each other and attacked Su Yang in unison. Act recklessly. Su Yang's eyes were cold, and then he suddenly took action, and a water dragon made of condensed spiritual energy rose into the sky. Puff! 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 The water dragon seemed to be alive. In an instant, it pierced the chests of all the soldiers present, and then turned into mist and disappeared. Immediately afterwards, Su Yang stepped on the corpses of these soldiers and strode into the underground prison. This is a deep and dark narrow path that leads directly underground. After walking about 10 meters, you can see a door panel made of fine steel. Su Yang waved his hand, and the majestic spiritual energy blasted the door open in an instant, and then strode in. The next scene gives people a sense of sudden enlightenment. It is no longer a narrow path, but a wide and bright space, somewhat similar to a large supermarket. Su Yang felt the elder sister's aura and walked straight ahead without stopping. At the same time, in the cell in the center. This cell is quite special. It is surrounded by thick glass, and even a master in the Tianzong realm cannot break it. Su Jingguo has been imprisoned here for several days, looking haggard. Prince Ping, I didn't expect you to be this kind of person. I'm so disappointed. Su Jingguo gritted her teeth, and there was strong sadness and anger in her eyes. At first, she also thought that Prince Ping's order to withdraw the troops might have another agenda. Su Jingguo blamed herself for her recklessness and felt that she was not unjust at all in being imprisoned. But in the past 2 days, she realized that she had misjudged Prince Ping. Prince Ping was simply a beast in disguise. Because Prince Ping came to the underground prison not only once to find Su Jingguo, but also expressed his admiration for Su Jingguo and wanted to take Su Jingguo into the palace as a concubine. But how could Su Jingguo agree? She decisively rejected Prince Ping, and then Prince Ping's tale was exposed, forcing Su Jingguo to compromise. For this reason, Prince Ping even found a master from the Tianzong to control Su Jingguo and planned to cook the rice until the time came. Su Jingguo would have to agree even if he didn't agree. However, Su Jingguo threatened to die, and Prince Ping finally failed to do so and reluctantly left the underground prison. From then on, Su Jingguo saw through Prince Ping Long Suxing and hated him to the core. Su Jingguo's eyes became moist when she thought that Prince Ping would humiliate her again, and that she might not be able to resist by then. She wanted to commit suicide more than once, intending to gain relief through it, but the late Tianzong masters outside did not give her this chance at all. I can't even think of dying. Su Jingguo showed a helpless smile, her eyes were complicated, and she gritted her teeth and said, Prince Ping, don't give me a chance, otherwise I will make you regret it for the rest of your life. Miss Su. At this time, the late Tianzong master who was standing outside laughed and said, What's wrong with my prince? Why are you so resistant to him? The speaker was an old woman with unfathomable strength, and was the second strongest person in the palace. Although she and the other two are both in the later stages of Tianzong, she is infinitely close to the peak of Tianzong, so her combat power is naturally different. Moreover, this old woman was the maid of Long Suxing's maternal grandmother. She had a transcendent status. Her status in the palace was second only to Long Suxing and Gu Hongyu. Snort. Su Jingguo glanced at the old woman and said with cold eyes, It's just a beast in clothes. Haha, Miss Su's words are wrong. The old woman in the palace smiled and said, To be honest, my prince has been holding back for many years and will soon blockade Kyoto and become the new emperor. Miss Su, since the prince appreciates you so much, why don't you accompany him to rule the world? What, Prince Ping actually has such ambitions, Su Jingguo's face changed drastically. This was the first time she heard the news. Kings and mountains change hands. It happens from time to time. It's completely normal. There's nothing to be surprised about. The old woman in the palace smiled and said, "My prince has been planning for this opportunity for many years. If nothing happens, he will wear the yellow robe in a few days. Miss Su, I advise you not to resist stubbornly and obey my prince." The old woman in the palace cast her cloudy eyes on Su Jingguo and said coldly, "I can see that my prince is sincere to you, and it's not just a whim. He will feel happy, angry, sad, and happy because of your attitude. This is not good." The old woman in the royal palace stared at Su Jingguo, with a murderous intent suddenly flashing in her eyes, and said in a deep voice, "If you continue to be stubborn and disrupt my prince's state of mind, making him unable to plan the world with peace of mind, then don't blame me for being ruthless." Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 368. What do you want to do? Su Jingguo was not afraid at all. She met the gaze of the old woman in the palace and said, "Neither humble nor arrogant, do you want to kill me?" "Yes." The old woman from the royal palace said seriously, "Although my prince has given me countless instructions to take good care of you, you have not repented and made my prince suffer. Even if you disobey orders, I will not let you live." He. Su Jingguo heard this and sneered, "If you want to kill me, then do it. I just want a relief." "Miss Su, have you thought it over clearly?" The old woman from the palace narrowed her eyes slightly, and there was true energy condensing in her palms. "Nature." Su Jingguo gritted her teeth and said, "If you don't kill me, if I have the chance in the future, I will personally kill Prince Ping, this traitor and traitor." Snort. "You don't know how to live or die, it seems that you are determined to do something right with the palace." The old woman from the palace said in a deep voice, "In that case, I will let you die in this glass cell." The words fell. The old woman from the palace clapped her palm and hit the glass heavily. Strangely, the glass did not crack or even change at all. Because the huge power of the old woman in the palace had hit Su Jingguo through the glass. Although Su Jingguo is not weak in strength, she is only among her peers. The reason why she was awarded the title of 10 Gods of War was firstly because there was a ban on the battlefield, and secondly it was because of her military talents. At this moment, facing the attack from the late Tianzong realm, Su Jingguo had no power to fight back. Puff! In an instant, Su Jingguo's body was blown away by the Genkai blasting through the glass, and she spat out a mouthful of blood on the glass wall. Tick-tock! There were blood drops slowly dripping from the corners of her mouth. Su Jingguo had been imprisoned for several days. She was already very haggard. Now her face was even paler and she was dying. "Don't blame me, blame yourself. You made the wrong choice." At this time, the old woman in the palace was slightly surprised to see Su Jingguo's palm without murderous intent. But then, she raised her hand again, intending to completely solve the hidden danger of Su Jingguo. But at this moment, the old woman in the palace suddenly noticed a strong crisis. When she looked closely, she saw a water dragon containing huge energy, rushing towards her with its teeth and claws. The old woman in the palace was shocked. She had no time to think and immediately ducked sideways to avoid him. But the water dragon kept chasing after him, and finally hit the old woman in the royal palace in the chest. Boom! After the impact, the scene became calm, but the dust rising from the underground cell confirmed the violent collision just now. At this time, the old woman from the palace stood aside, covering her chest, with a trace of blood on the corner of her mouth. Her face was pale, but she was even more horrified. She looked warily at the direction where the water dragon was charging, and was ready to take action at any time. There, a thin young man walked over slowly, following the light. The young man was tall and handsome, with an indifferent expression. He exuded a terrifying coercion that made people feel heart-stopping. This person is none other than Su Yang. Just now when the old woman from the palace was about to kill Su Jingguo, he arrived just in time and casually used a tap to stop the old woman from the palace. Otherwise, with Su Yang's strength and a little preparation, he could kill the old woman in the palace with one move. "Who are you?" At this time, the old woman from the palace asked with a frown. "Su family, Su Yang, Su Jingguo's brother." Su Yang walked forward step by step, stared at the old woman in the palace, and said coldly, "Now, you can die." What a crazy tone. Do you know where this place is? How dare you act wild here? The old woman in the palace could naturally tell that she was no match for the young man in front of her. She was very frightened, so she had to bring out the palace's secrets and threatened, "Young man, I'm warning you, my old lady is infinitely close to the realm of Shenzong. If you don't want to die, you will have to die. It's best to leave the palace as soon as possible, otherwise you'll have to bear the consequences." "Oh." Su Yang stopped and raised his eyebrows. "Your old lady is so powerful. Where is she? Why didn't she come out to kill me?" Snored. "You're lucky. My old lady went out 2 days ago and went to Jiangbei." The old woman from the palace continued, "Do you know what my old lady did?" "I don't know this, can you tell me?" Su Yang asked curiously. He. Mentioning Gu Hongyu, the old woman in the palace showed a hint of arrogance, and then said, "My old lady, the master of the Iron Fist sect, and the Du family in Shenzhen are working together to put pressure on the Yaoang Palace. Perhaps you don't know that the Medicine King Palace recently held a conference of doctors. The location is at Evian Villa in the north of the Yangtze River. Now all the big shots in the Medicine King Palace are there." The old woman in the palace continued, "If Yaoang Palace does not compromise this time, my old lady will work with the Iron Fist sect, who advocates longevity, and Du Mingyuan, the head of the Du family in Shen City, to work together to keep all the senior officials of Yaoang Palace in Evian Villa. However, judging from Yaoang Palace's past deeds, they must compromise and do not dare to confront the enemy head-on." The old woman in the palace finally sneered, "Young man, even the king of Medicine Palace has to surrender to my old lady. Who do you think you are, dare to run wild on her old lady's territory? If you know what's going on, leave this place immediately and pretend nothing happened." The old woman in the royal palace looked at Su Yang arrogantly, concluding that this young man would be frightened and run away in disgrace when he heard the old lady's name. But the next moment, her expression froze, with a look of pain on her face. Because, Su Yang suddenly took action and strangled her neck directly. "Old man, in my life, I hate others threatening me the most. None of the enemies who have truly threatened me can survive. You are no exception." As soon as he finished speaking, Su Yang exerted force with his 5 fingers and instantly broke the neck of the old woman in the palace. Well. The old woman in the palace's eyes widened, her pupils shrank rapidly, and soon she stopped breathing completely. The dignified masters in the late Tianzong realm were powerless to fight back in front of Su Yang. Throwing away the body of the old woman from the palace, Su Yang turned around and his eyes fell on Su Jingguo through the glass. At this time, Su Jingguo was lying on the ground, her face was pale, her breath was weak, and she was obviously seriously injured. But she could see clearly what happened just now, her beautiful eyes filled with shock. "Brother, when did you become so powerful?" Cough. Just as she was talking, Su Jingguo opened her mouth and spat out a pool of blood, and her breath became a little weaker. "Sister." Su Yang's heart trembled, and he immediately mobilized the spiritual energy all over his body and punched the glass with the 100-life reincarnation fist. Boom! Almost instantly, the solid glass wall shattered, and glass shards scattered. Su Yang had quick eyesight and quick hands. He suddenly raised his hand, and a majestic spiritual energy surged out, pushing the glass debris far away to avoid hurting Su Jingguo. Immediately afterwards, Su Yang strode forward, held the seriously injured Su Jingguo in his arms, and checked Su Jingguo's injuries at the same time. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 369. The internal organs were severely damaged, but the problem is not serious. This time I collected a lot of finished pills from the underground treasure house in Country D, which can definitely make my sister recover. Su Yang breathed a sigh of relief, and with a thought, there was a glass bottle in his hand. Then, Su Yang poured out a cherry-sized pill, smiled softly and said, "Sister, take it." "Brother, what is this?" Su Jingguo said with a weak breath. "I can heal your injury, so eat it quickly." After Su Jingguo took the elixir, she sat cross-legged, used her inner strength and mental skills, and began to adjust her breath. Su Yang saw that the elder sister's recovery speed was a bit slow, so he waved his hand and sent a stream of spiritual energy into the elder sister's body. Probably a few minutes later, Su Jingguo finished her meditation, slowly opened her eyes, and stood up with Su Yang's help. "Little brother." After that, Su Jingguo looked at Su Yang with complicated eyes. She paused for a few seconds and then asked, "You haven't answered my question yet, how did you become so powerful?" Su Yang met Su Jingguo's gaze. Strictly speaking, this was his first time meeting his sister. Last time in Dongjiang, he hid his identity and disguised himself as Su Xiantian, so Su Jingguo didn't know his identity. Now, Su Yang appeared in front of Su Jingguo with his original appearance, and his mood was different from the last time. "Sister." After hesitating for a moment, Su Yang finally said meaningfully, "There are some things that I don't want to tell you. You just need to know that I am very strong now, and I am still your brother. That's all." "Good." Hearing this, Su Jingguo did not ask further questions, but raised her hand and pinched Su Yang's cheek, and said with pride, "I didn't expect that my little brother would grow into a super master, haha." "Hey, sister." Su Yang smiled and then said solemnly, "You have been protecting me since I was a child. No matter what mistakes I made, you would help me settle them. Even if I was wrong, you would still stand by me. Sister, you have worked hard, thank you, but from now on, it is my turn to protect you. Little brother." Su Jingguo looked at Su Yang movedly, her beautiful eyes filled with relief, and then, she couldn't help but pinch Su Yang's cheek. "Sister." A second ago, Su Yang was serious, but now his face turned dark. "Can you please stop pinching my face? Your little brother and I are also a master after all." "Sister, do you know what a master is? I also want to save face, okay? So what?" Su Jingguo pinched it again, and then said with a smile, "No matter how powerful you are still my little brother. I have pinched your face since childhood. Why, you are not allowed to pinch it now? Little brother, you can't burn bridges." Su Yang smiled bitterly and said, "Don't use idioms indiscriminately. What does this have to do with crossing the river and burning the bridge?" "Of course it matters." Su Jingguo said seriously, "If I hadn't pinched you so often, would you be so handsome? Now that you have grown into a handsome guy, you won't let me pinch your face. Isn't this burning the bridge? Why does this sound strange, but it is very comfortable." Su Yang compromised and said with a smile, "Okay, sister, you can pinch it if you want, be gentle, and don't make me look ugly again." Ha ha ha. Su Jingguo laughed heartily and chatted with her little brother, and her mood improved. The two chatted for a while, and then Su Yang suddenly asked, "Sister, why did Prince Ping imprison you here, because of the battlefield in southern Xinjiang?" "Yes and no." Su Jingguo sighed, feeling that Prince Ping's matter would have to be faced sooner or later, so she told Su Yang everything that happened after she was imprisoned. Hateful. This bitch actually misses my old sister and tries to force her. If I don't tear off his head today, my surname will not be Su. When Su Yang heard this, he was immediately furious, his eyes turned cold instantly, and a terrifying aura emanated from his body, and the air seemed to freeze. Little brother. This moment. Only then did Su Jingguo truly realize how powerful her little brother was. It was also at this time that she realized that his little brother had grown up and could stand alone, and could even hold up a sky for herself. Su Jingguo was both happy and proud. At this time, she saw that Su Yang seemed to want to leave the dungeon, so she hurriedly asked, "Little brother, what are you going to do?" "Kill Prince Ping." Su Yang responded in a calm tone, but the killing intent in it was self-evident. "This, little brother, Prince Ping is very powerful. There are many masters in this palace." Su Jingguo was worried about Su Yang's safety, so she started to persuade him. "Sister." In order to reassure Su Jingguo, Su Yang said, "Now, I am the master of the Medicine King Palace. With an order, the entire Medicine King Palace will serve me. Moreover, on the battlefield in southern Xinjiang, I only led dozens of Su family secret guards to quell the chaos in southern Xinjiang and massacred 4 to 5 million enemy troops. So, don't worry when I do things. If I say I can kill Prince Ping, then I can kill him. At this moment, our Su family's secret guards are fighting with the royal masters outside. Those people are nothing to worry about. Sister, I'll take a step first and go to the Jinluan Hall to kill Prince Ping. I'll talk to you in detail later." After comforting the old sister with a few simple words, Su Yang used "so far" and "the end of the world," and his figure disappeared instantly. Yao Wang Palace, the master. The secret guards of the Su family resolved the crisis in southern Xinjiang. Is this, what the little brother said is true? Su Jingguo was shocked, with a look of horror on her face, and walked out of the underground prison. But Su Yang used the short distance to reach the palace as early as possible. At this time, the battle between the members of the Blood Slaughter and the masters of the royal palace is still going on and is intensifying. But it can be clearly seen that the members of the Blood Massacre are a little weak. After all, there are many experts in the royal palace and they look after each other. The members of the Blood Massacre fight on their own, and it is difficult to kill their opponents. If they cannot kill, they will not be able to draw blood essence to restore their strength, and they are trapped in an endless cycle. Xiaoting, it's almost time to use the Fulong combination attack technique. These people will be killed without mercy. Also, my old sister will come out soon. Take care of her. I'll go to the Jinluan Hall." Without leaving a word, Su Yang left Prince Ping's mansion without stopping. "Congratulations, master." Xiaoting responded respectfully, then turned to say seriously, "Suitu obeys the order and forms an array." "Yes." When the 49 members of the Blood Massacre heard Xiaoting's order, they immediately became energetic and high in fighting spirit. At the same time, Jinluan Hall. "Su Yang, it's Su Yang," he came out of the palace. "How is it possible? He is just an ordinary person. Is there no one left in the palace? It must be the case. The masters of the royal palace are all outside dealing with Xuetu, so he may have taken advantage of him. Why did he disappear again? It was so fast. Is he really an ordinary person?" The civil and military officials briefly saw Su Yang through their heavenly eyes, and immediately started talking. Prince Ping Long Su Xing, who was standing at the front, frowned and had a vague premonition in his heart. What's going on? Why didn't Aunt Ping take action? Could it be that, Aunt Ping took action, but Su Yang killed her instead? Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 370. Aunt Ping was the late Tianzong who injured Su Jingguo. Prince Ping guessed correctly, her throat had been pinched by Su Yang. But as soon as this idea came into Prince Ping's mind, he was rejected by himself. Impossible. Su Yang is just a playboy, and Aunt Ping has already entered the later stage of Tianzong. Su Yang will definitely not be her opponent. Prince Ping thought to himself, it must be that Su Yang did not enter the underground prison, so he never met Aunt Ping. That's not right. There are many Earth sect masters in the palace guarding the surroundings. How could Su Yang? Prince Ping frowned, puzzled, so he looked up at the screen, a smile appeared on his lips, and murmured, fortunately, the battle outside the palace will end soon. From the current point of view, the members of the Blood Massacre are at a disadvantage, and many people have been seriously injured. As the masters of the palace help each other, the death rate will be reduced in the future. If this continues, they will be able to wipe out the bloody massacre in less than 10 minutes. When the time comes, wouldn't it be easy to find another opportunity to kill Su Yang? But the next moment, the smile on Prince Ping's face froze, and his eyes were filled with astonishment. Because he saw on the screen above that the Blood Slaughter members formed a strange formation and actually killed 3 Earth sect masters from the palace in the blink of an eye. A large amount of blood poured into the bodies of the Blood Slaughter members, making those who were seriously injured feel like they were reborn. Immediately afterwards, the members of the Blood Slaughter were like killing chickens and dogs, running rampant and killing in all directions. In the blink of an eye, 5 more masters from the palace died unexpectedly. No. This is impossible. Prince Ping screamed and looked at the screen above the Jinluan Hall in disbelief. His uncontrollable cry immediately attracted Long Xintian and all the civil and military officials, and everyone's eyes fell on the screen. What, why did the members of the Blood Slaughter suddenly become so powerful? Slaughter, how can this be a battle? It's obviously a massacre. It turns out that Xuetu has been hiding his strength. This is their real power. Look carefully, everyone, this is the combined attack technique of the Blood Massacre. They used this method to kill thousands of Grand Masters of Country D on the battlefield in southern Xinjiang. It's horrifying. How long has it passed? All the masters in the palace have been wiped out. Only 2 of them are left. Above the Jinluan Hall, the civil and military officials were extremely shocked. Their expressions looking at Xuetu were full of awe. Ha ha! Well done. On the dragon chair, Emperor Long Xintian laughed heartily, feeling secretly happy, but he didn't show it. Previously, he was still worried that the soldiers in Prince Ping's mansion were so powerful that they would pose a danger to him. But now, Xuetu suddenly exerted his strength and solved the problem for himself. These soldiers must come from Sandongqiao and are disciples of the sect of Prince Ping's grandmother. Prince Ping hid them in the palace, so he naturally had the intention to rebel. Now Xuetu has taken action to kill them all. Ha ha ha, I have to say that this move deeply resonates with me. Long Xintian looked calm on the surface, but he was happy in his heart. He looked at Prince Ping below intentionally or unintentionally. At this moment, Prince Ping Long Suxing looked as ugly as pig liver. Su Yang, bloody massacre. Long Suxing gritted his teeth and said in a cold voice, this king wants you to die without a burial place. Prince Ping, please calm down. Blood 2 has indeed gone too far. He actually dared to kill in the palace. He has no laws. When they come back, I will teach them a lesson, Long Xintian said to comfort them. Oh. Long Suxing looked at the emperor and asked, may I ask the emperor, how do you teach him a lesson? Long Xintian paused for a moment, then gritted his teeth and said sternly, they have already accepted the canonization and received national salary, and now they are committing crimes openly. Humph, I will naturally punish them severely. Let's fine them half a year's salary. Severe punishment? Fined with half a year's salary? Upon hearing this, all the civil and military officials at the scene looked at each other in shock. I second my opinion. Lu Zhonglian, the head of the civil service, couldn't help but want to laugh, but he still stood up and said with laughter, "This punishment from the emperor will definitely make the blood butcher remember." The emperor nodded gently, his eyes fell on Long Suxing, and said lightly, "Prince Ping, are you satisfied?" "Satisfied? Brother Chen is so satisfied." Long Suxing agreed. He knew that the emperor wanted all his soldiers to die and would definitely not punish Xuetu, so he stopped continuing the topic and looked at the screen projected by the sky eye. Although the soldiers in the Earth sect realm died, fortunately there were still 2 late Tian sect masters. If these 2 people fight, they should be able to kill some of the blood slaughter members, right? But after seeing the scene outside the palace clearly, Long Suxing was stunned again. Died? Those 2 late Tianzong disciples were all dead? What kind of situation is this? It's illogical. When Long Suxing was stunned, he suddenly saw a familiar figure walking out of the palace. "Tao, Jingguo." Long Suxing was shocked and murmured, "Isn't she imprisoned in a secret prison underground, guarded by Anping every step of the way? How could it be that Su Yang is really not an ordinary person?" This idea magnified infinitely in Long Suxing's mind. Su Jingguo was rescued, and now there are only 2 possibilities. 1. There were experts behind Su Yang who avoided the Sky Eye and went directly into the underground prison to kill Nanny Ping and rescue Su Jingguo. As for the second possibility, that is that Su Yang did all this. In other words, Su Yang is a master who can kill the late Tianzong. Thinking of this, Prince Ping was frightened for a while, and a chill suddenly came from his back. He imprisoned Su Yang's sister and tried to use force to possess Su Jingguo. Su Yang left the palace angrily just now. Looking in the direction, he seemed to be heading towards the palace. Could he be coming to the Jinluan Hall to kill me? Nowadays, all the masters in the royal palace died in the battle, even Nanny Ping died, and Grandma went to Jiangbei and was not in Kyoto. The emperor is afraid of my grandmother, so he doesn't dare to do anything to me, but if someone else kills me, I'm afraid he won't help me. After thinking about this, Long Suxing's face changed drastically. He was frightened in his heart, and his body couldn't help but tremble. "Your Majesty, I suddenly remembered that there is an urgent matter that I need to deal with. I have to leave first." Long Suxing did not dare to hesitate at all. After asking for his resignation, he turned around and left the Jinluan Hall, regardless of whether the emperor agreed or not. He did not dare to stay for a quarter of an hour. But at this moment, a sound broke through the air, and a thin figure suddenly appeared in the Jinluan Hall. Standing 5 meters away from Prince Ping, he stared at Prince Ping with a serious face and said word by word, "Are you able to leave? P.S. This is enough for 1 chapter, but as I said before, if Prince Ping doesn't die in the next chapter, I will die in order to let everyone continue to have books to read, in order not to make the readers who love me deeply sad, in order to protect mankind and maintain world peace. I will use 2 chapters each with a secret technique, hope you know." A cold voice, filled with endless killing intent, sounded in the magnificent Jinluan Hall. "Aha! Aha! Aha!" In an instant, dozens or hundreds of pairs of eyes fell on Su Yang at the same time in the main hall. Su Yang, wasn't he at Prince Ping's mansion just now? Why did he suddenly appear in Jinluan Hall? It's only been a few minutes. Can he fly? He actually came from Prince Ping to the Jinluan Palace. The Jinluan Palace is an important place for the royal family and is heavily guarded. How did Su Yang get in? Why didn't he hear the guards stop him? For a moment, the civil and military officials were whispering to each other, discussing in low voices, and looking at Su Yang. Their eyes were full of curiosity. Su Yang ignored everyone and stared at Prince Ping. As he walked towards him, he spoke again, asking and answering himself, "You can't escape." Su Yang. Prince Ping was frightened, took a step back, and said through gritted teeth, "What did you do in the palace?" He. Su Yang had an indifferent expression and said coldly, "I just killed a piece of trash from the late Tianzong period, and by the way, I rescued my sister from the glass cell." Did you really kill Nanny Ping?" Long Suxing swallowed in fear. "You do not believe." Su Yang came to Prince Ping and said with a cold smile, "Haha, I don't have to let you believe it. But, Prince Ping, you imprisoned my sister and even used force on her for your own selfish reasons. If my sister had not been loyal and unyielding and threatened her life, I would have been poisoned by you. I am Su Jingguo's younger brother. Our blood is thicker than water, and we are connected by flesh and blood. You did this to my sister. If I don't kill you today, it will be difficult to relieve the hatred in my heart. But don't worry, I won't let you die so easily. Now, give up your status as a noble prince and kneel down immediately." Buzz. As soon as the words fell, Su Yang instantly released a terrifying coercion that swept the entire place. All the civil and military officials in the Jinluan Hall suddenly staggered to and fro, unable to stand firmly. However, they were not Su Yang's targets, otherwise they would have been lying on the ground. At this moment, under the pressure of Su Yang's powerful aura, Prince Ping lost control of his body and fell to his knees on the ground. Su Yang. Long Suxing struggled to stand up, but his efforts were of no avail. "This is just the beginning." Su Yang showed a sneer, strode forward, raised his hand and slapped Prince Ping on the face. Snapped. Along with a crisp sound, 5 fingerprints suddenly appeared on Prince Ping's face, which were clearly visible. "Su Yang, you are so brave. I am a noble king. If you hit me, it is tantamount to trampling on the dignity of the royal family." Long Suxing was so angry that he laughed and said, "There are so many masters in the royal family, how can we allow you to be so presumptuous? You are dead today." Snapped. 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 As soon as Long Su finished speaking, Su Yang had no scruples and slapped his face one after another with his palms. "Ah!" Prince Ping screamed in pain and was knocked to the ground. His facial bones were all dislocated and 7 or 8 of his teeth were lost. He was lying on the ground dying, his saliva and blood mixed together, and he looked miserable. Aha! This scene instantly shocked the entire audience, and all officials, both civil and military, were filled with astonishment. Prince Ping was actually beaten. Su Yang is so cruel. This is the Jinluan Hall. The prince of the current dynasty was beaten in the royal palace. This is an anecdote for the ages. Su Yang has really gone too far this time. I'm afraid the royal family will fight him to the death. Don't talk nonsense. Didn't you see that the emperor didn't say a word and had no intention of intervening? This Su Yang is really serious. With a few slaps, he could kill half of Prince Ping. The civil and military officials were whispering to each other. While discussing, they wanted to know what the emperor would do. He. At this time, Su Yang strode forward, raised his foot and stepped on Prince Ping's chest, saying arrogantly, "Threat me, you are not qualified. Not just you, but the entire royal family, I don't take it seriously. If you anger me, I will overthrow the Long family royal family and build another temple." Presumptuous. As soon as these words came out, the emperor, who had always been silent, suddenly spoke and said in a deep voice, "Su Yang, you want to rebel, but you can't. So what?" Su Yang met Long Xingtian's gaze, fearless, and said coldly, "Your Majesty, I am not interested in your position. I advise you not to say too much, so that you and I can live in peace, otherwise, I will make you regret it for the rest of your life." "How dare you threaten me?" Long Xingtian stared at Su Yang, furious. Original. Su Yang led the bloody massacre, resolved the crisis in southern Xinjiang, and eliminated the powerful soldiers of Prince Ping's mansion. Long Xingtian was very relieved and had a good impression of Su Yang. Following Long Xingtian's order, Su Yang suddenly noticed two powerful auras approaching him. Haha, you made the right decision. Su Yang raised a sneer at the corner of his mouth, without any fear in his heart, and stood still. What method is this? Besides, the emperor said that Xiao was his senior sister and he seemed to be in awe of Xiao. I advise you to take back your life, lest you end up losing two of your foundations and it will be difficult to end. Then, of course I'll make you pay the price. Now, the two terrifying auras also disappeared. At the same time, Tuaba Bodhisattva and Kuzu Taoist had not yet appeared. After receiving Long Xingtian's order, they retreated. At this time, Shifen in the storage ring has successfully built the foundation, and her strength can even crush the Shenzong. Why should Su Yang be afraid? Snort. No one can provoke the royal family and then escape unscathed. At this point, if Long Xingtian doesn't stand up and say a word, people in the world may really think that the royal family is afraid of Su Yang and the Su family. Long Xingtian recalled the terrifying and strange appearance of the members of the blood slaughter. Then he looked at Su Yang and instantly felt that Su Yang was mysterious. Could he be from a powerful sect? Half-step Shenzong? Sound transmission? However, Su Yang, I will give senior sister Xiao some face and spare your life. The emperor, who was sitting on the dragon chair, suddenly heard Su Yang's voice in his mind, and his expression suddenly changed. Su Yang looked at the emperor and smiled, then lowered his head, stared at Prince Ping with slightly narrowed eyes, and said in a deep voice, "My lord, farewell." Su Yang looked at Long Xingtian and said in a deep voice, "My lord, what should you do in the face of my threat?" There is no deep hatred between him and the emperor at present. But Su Yangqian shouldn't contradict him, Long Xingtian, and shouldn't provoke the royal family. Su Yang secretly sent a message and said calmly, "Your Majesty, I don't pay any attention to these two half-step divine sections." Long Xingtian had long wanted Prince Ping to die, but he was worried about the retaliation from Sandong Bridge, so he never acted rashly. I'm just telling you a fact. If you take it as a threat, it is a threat. But since the Emperor and Xiao have such a relationship, Su Yang naturally does not need to make things happen. With this thought in his mind, Long Xingtian hesitated. After thinking for a few seconds, he changed his mind and raised his hand slightly to signal the two half-step divine sects to stop. After the words fell, Su Yang exerted force with his feet, and in an instant, he trampled Long Su Xin to death. And Su Yang can do this for him. After Prince Ping's death, all the responsibilities can be pushed to Su Yang. It has nothing to do with the royal family. Prince Ping's grandmother must have nothing to say. Long Xingtian's face was as heavy as water, and he said in a cold voice, "Tuaba Bodhisattva, Kuzu Taoist, take action, capture Su Yang, press him into the heavenly prison, and wait for his fate. The message I sent you this time has already taken your face into consideration. If you insist on having your own way, don't blame me for being rude." In addition, Su Yang broke into the Jinluan Hall and attempted to kill Prince Ping in public, fulfilling Long Xingtian's wish.